your ISC production of Hamlet, which was brilliant because most of us know and love you as this just and moral and virtuous character. And yet in Hamlet, you play one of the most famous villains in history. I wondered if you could tell us about that experience, because it was just fantastic to watch.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, yes, it's true. Jean-Luc Picard and Charles Xavier are, and will probably be for the rest of my life, the characters for which I'm most well known. And indeed, they are upright, just, honest men. But I have played a lot of bad guys in my time. I was once first choice bad guy for the Royal Shakespeare Company. And,
Well, you're very good at it.
yeah, well, that kind of makes you wonder where it all comes from. Claudius was an interesting thing for me. I had never played Hamlet. I was never a Hamlet in my life. I could play Hamlet now. I'm ready to play Hamlet now, but it's unlikely that I will ever get cast. But I was in a very famous production of it in 1966 with the Royal Shakespeare Company, when a brilliant actor, who indeed made quite an impact in a couple of episodes of Star Trek, David Warner, he played Hamlet, and I saw a brilliant actor called Brewster Mason play Claudius, and it became my ambition then to play that role. I played it on television with Derek Jacobi, and it might be interesting for you if you can find, and it's indeed easily available, a DVD of Derek Jacobi's Hamlet to compare the two Claudiuses. And Jacobi is a wonderful Hamlet too. But I never got to do it on stage to let me have a go at playing Claudius. And then we did it in Stratford in London, and it was very successful. And then we filmed it, which was the icing on the cake. But yes, playing really, really bad. The thing about Claudius is he's not a really bad guy. He got one thing wrong. Now, it was a big thing. He killed his brother, and that's... but in every other respect, he was a far better king than the other king would have been. I'm sure a far better husband too, a far better stepfather if Hamlet would have let him be. And but he did one horrible thing, and his life is blighted and damned because of it. But I played worse guys than that. There is also a film called Macbeth, which is out there. And, really bad. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad that you enjoyed that. It's always good talking about that side of my work in an event like this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Just to start, I'd like to say kudos on behalf of the LGBT community. And thank you for your parts in Frasier, and in the movie Jeffrey with Steven Weber. I mean, you were absolutely fabulous. Now, my question is, and not to really piss off Stewie Griffin and have a Family Guy moment, but my question has nothing to do with Star Trek. Did the National Geographic Society or Discovery Channel contact you before they aired the part and the piece of the discovery of the 9,000-year-old skeleton, the Kennewick Man? Are you familiar with the Kennewick Man?
Yeah, I am, and I know what you're referring to. No, that was a complete surprise. Somebody said to me, hey, you ought to take a look at the newspaper, you're in it. Yeah. I was flattered. I was really flattered to have scientists connect me with something that had lived 9,000 years ago.
Yeah, for a while there, we thought maybe the Enterprise had gotten sent back and crashed.
It might indeed, but then, you have to start looking for a number one and Dr. Crusher and all the rest of it.
Thank you.
And they're all too pretty to be Kennewick Man. You're very welcome. Yes?
Yes, sir. I have actually two questions for you. One is, how did it feel to work with the cast and crew of Star Trek Next Generation?
Oh, I thought you said you had two questions.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you mean the cast and crew? That was two questions. One the cast, two the crew. It was a wonderful experience. Wonderful. They became and still are, every single one of them, my very dearest and closest friends, and I am never happier than when I'm in their company. It's as simple as that.
Would you do it again? If you had a chance?
Would I do it again?
As an admiral?
Captain is good enough for me. I'll settle for that. Anyway, what people yell out? You know, I'm in New York at the moment, living there, and it's just great. I love it in New York. You know, you walk past a construction site or something, and people yell out, "Hey, Captain, how you doing?" I like it. Hey, Admiral. Not the same. No, I mean, you know, that's a fantasy thought of yours. There won't be any Next Generation. Why? Well, you know, everything has its time, doesn't it? And you move on. And Star Trek has moved on magnificently with this new cast. What JJ is doing, what he did with the first film, what I'm sure he'll do with the others is outstanding. So, no, we're all of us incredibly proud to be parts of this great epic tradition which has become Star Trek. There's nothing like it in the history of entertainment, of show business. There's never been anything that has had a life like this, so I'm just very happy to have been part of it for a while. Thank you. Yes.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for the wonderful roles you've done in the past, especially in the Shakespearean era. I'm just curious, are you do you have any plans for like any large productions of any Shakespeare's plays in the future?
I don't have any plans for any Shakespeare. I mean, I have a list this long of things I want to do, but at the moment there is nothing on that list that's planned. I do have theatre plans for the late summer and autumn. Now and then I am focusing exclusively on film and television, which I haven't done for 8 years, apart from the Hamlet and the Macbeth movie show. Yeah, that's and extras. That was the only thing that film. I've seen everything. Uh-oh.
You have an opportunity. Who is your favorite? Who is your favorite villain? And it's an opportunity to really think through this answer.
This guy here knows, ladies and gentlemen, John DeLance. There is a little story behind the question John has just asked, because when we were in Calgary a few weeks ago for the 25th reunion of Next Generation, and we were all there, the 9 original cast members, And then someone in the audience asked that question, who was my favorite villain? And I thought for a long time. Then I said, well, you know, there was a Ferengi, not realizing that it was a setup to bring John onto the stage. So he gave me a chance this time to correct myself. Of course it was Q! You are happy on your feet.
There we go. Yeah, no, I'm happy on my feet. I've been sitting for sure. Yes, that was rather amusing.
It was embarrassing. I mean, at my age, I'd drop a cue of that kind. But the thing is, none of us knew John was there. Oh yes, and that was funny too. I really shouldn't be let out without a mind.
Well, couldn't we continue answering questions?
Let's do that. Yeah, I think we were over this side now.
Oh, you know what? I jumped in front of this man over here. He should have his question.
Oh, that's all right. That was a pretty welcome surprise.
He asked me for an autograph within a millisecond.
I tried to get the words out. It was a little hard, a little starstruck. I'm sorry. My name is Robbie, and may I just say it's an honor and a privilege to be able to get the opportunity to talk to both you, Sir Patrick Stewart, and John DeLance, also known as Q or Agent Darkly. I'm sorry, I do know that one. Anyway, my question for both of you is also I have a request for later. What are your thoughts on Gene Roddenberry's idea of the future that Star Trek was put in the setting?
I didn't fully understand the last remark.
What were his thoughts about, what are our thoughts about his notion of the future?
Yes, his notion of a better future for mankind.
John?
I think it's the seminal idea of Star Trek, that the world will be better. And I think it's probably one of the reasons why the show was as popular as it was in the beginning, and certainly why it has continued, and probably why we really need it now.
Sir Patrick?
Well, here.
How about a scotch?
I wouldn't mind one right about now.
I know, it's taken that way, isn't it? I'll tell you, I'd like to tell this little anecdote about the letter I received towards the end of the series, and it was for me the most potent communication I ever had from a fan, and it came from a police sergeant in the Las Vegas Police Department. And it was quite a long letter, and he told me quite a lot about his life and work and so forth, and he said that there are days, however, he comes home and he's close to despair with the aspects of mankind, the selfishness, the greed, the brutality, the murderousness that he has had to witness. And when he feels like that, there is only one antidote, he said, that is, he goes to a shelf and he takes down a DVD of Star Trek The Next Generation. And it assures him that indeed things will be better. And I agree with John, I think that was the very core and heart and potency of what we did.
I just wanted to ask that question because Star Trek, I grew up watching Star Trek, mainly The Next Generation. My dad would watch it in syndication, watching as a kid. That has inspired me to become an engineer to try to make some of the technology in Star Trek come to life here.
There are two things that you said in that, which we all know, and I think is worth saying again. when your dad and you watch the show, I can't tell you how many people come up to us and say, my grandfather, my father, and it was a family show that everybody was able to watch at different levels of appreciation and comprehension. And the other thing is that I had a man walk up to me in an airport and he said, well, you have given me so many years of entertainment, and if you ever want to see the real thing, and he handed me his card, and he was the launch director for the missile launch director for the Annenberg Air Force Base, and that was his entry. Star Trek, what Gene did was his entry. He created a tent, and that tent became larger and larger, and it brought in, obviously, people who enjoyed the show, but then people who enjoyed science and fiction and history and computers and costumes and movies, and it just became and has become this enormous tent for which we all gather, under which we all gather.
Say that? I never said that, did I? I did.
Yes.
I mean, but you can't just say go warp speed. There was a number. There was a factor involved.
Warp 9.
Yeah!
Warp 9.
I can't remember what I used to say.
But I wanted to just continue this little theme.
Make it so.
Because all of us on the show have met countless individuals, not all young people either, who have said that their lives were changed by watching the show, and what they're now doing was massively influenced by their experience of Next Generation. And only today, one young man told me that, well, he hinted that there was one episode that kind of saved his life. And that's deeply gratifying to hear things like that. Thank you. And now shut up. And we're going to go over here, John. Is that good?
Hi guys.
Hi.
So Stewart, I grew up watching, with my parents. I grew up watching Next Generation. I'm a huge fan. And Mr. DeLance, you're still my favorite villain. I had a question for both of you guys. What was your favorite and/or funniest behind-the-scenes moment with the cast of the Next Generation for each of you?
Well, funny you should ask that. I was sent this week a new blooper reel, which they're going to use as part of the launch of the new Blu-ray. The whole series is coming out on Blu-ray. I've seen some of it. It looks sensational. It looks as though it was filmed last week. Anyway, they're going to add in all the extras a sort of 10-15-minute blooper reel. And for my money, the funniest thing is still, and always was, the turbo lift doors that don't open. What do you think, John?
Actually, we were speaking a couple of weeks ago, and you mentioned the fact that something that I had forgotten where it was in its positioning, that the last episode, the last shot was when we were doing the goo, all that goo stuff, right? One of the things about playing the character that I played is that, I had to have a certain level of naughtiness. I don't know why. But it was late, and it was a late, dark, very, a sound stage that wasn't used very often and what have you. And we were up high, if you remember. They had built a stage up pretty high, and the deal was that we had to bend down, or I had to bend down, and I had to pick up this goo, except it was actually a very good spatially. I remember you were on this side, but I'll do it this side. And I had to pick up the goo, and I had to go, you see? But in the process of doing that, to make sure that there was sort of a sense of something else going on and a little bit of a twinkle, there was a guy underneath, one of the guys in the crew, who was holding the bucket of goo on a ladder. And so while I was saying, you see, I was also moving that hand out so that the drips of it were going onto his head. And he, of course, had to be very quiet. And I had this sort of inner sort of secret going on. Which is both a trick in acting and also it was fun. So
everybody's gonna go home and put that episode in.
Yes, I know.
And actually, you know, John mentioned a member of the crew, and we had pretty much exactly the same crew that night when John and I were together filming the last moments of Next Generation. It didn't happen around the poker table. That was a week or so earlier. And we had the same people who were there on day one of Encounter at Farpoint. And they were an extraordinary group of men. And on this blooper reel, you actually hear Cosmo Genovese reading the off-camera lines. He was our continuity man, our script supervisor, and part of his job was to read the lines of characters who were not there, which of course meant all those aliens on the view screen and so forth. And it was wonderful to hear Cosmo's voice. And in 7 years of filming, Cosmo Genovese, who must have been in his late 50s or 60s then, never missed one single day on the set. Remarkable. They were a great team.
And the bane of every actor like myself who has a hard time remembering his lines because he would be there at the end of a show or at the end of a scene going, it was not wasn't. We need to shoot that again. I'm like, oh my God.